Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David,
And my name is James.
and this is where we talk all things Star Wars, and we really love Star Wars here at the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. And episode 6 of Andor. Oh my
Wow.
God!
Wow is all I'm going to say. That's my review. That's it. We should probably just end the podcast right now. Like, it's just wow. That was something, man. Like, it was more than what I thought it was going to be, which is what I was excited about. Like, I knew it was going to be something really cool. You know what I mean? Like, based off of how the previous episodes had gone, I was like, oh, they're building up to something pretty cool here. And it was just like, whoa, I wasn't expecting a lot of what happened. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, I think we all expected, and spoilers if you weren't aware. I mean, this is an Andor episode 6 breakdown, so spoilers here on out. If you haven't seen the episode, stop right now. Go watch the episode. It's really awesome. So we were all kind of quasi promised a heist episode, and that's exactly what we got. We got the big heist. We got the big payoff of seeing the spectacle known as the Eye on Aldani, and we got some of the coolest espionage heist stuff that I think we've ever gotten in Star Wars. Some people were comparing it to some of the best stuff since 1980, since The Empire Strikes Back.
All right, I can see that.
I think we all in general love The Mandalorian, but Andor is just different in a way that I've been saying it for a long time, that I thought this is kind of what we were going to get as soon as Disney purchased Lucasfilm in the TV realm, and we get it 10 years later. But with The Mandalorian, that was more of a Star Wars-y type of situation. But with Andor, you have Tony Gilroy, who's a professed non-Star Wars fan, but is a great writer and showrunner, as well as Dan Gilroy. He was a writer on this show. But yeah, it was spectacular. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. It just held my interest all the way through. I watched it at 2 a.m. When it dropped, or a little bit before 2 a.m. because sometimes they drop it minutes before. So I saw the runtime, and that's one of the things that I haven't been pleased with is the runtime for these shows. It's only about 30 minutes approximately of actual live footage. So the runtime for this episode was what, 54 minutes?
Yeah, it was the longest one they've done.
When you subtract like the fanfare at the beginning and then the credits at the end, that's about 44 minutes of actually live footage. So one of the longest episodes we've gotten, and it was one of the coolest, one of the most expensive episodes, I would guess you could say, easily say. But I think overall everyone was very pleased with it, and I couldn't sleep afterwards. I stayed up for a couple hours. I was going through Twitter. You probably saw some of my tweets and some of my likes out there. So yeah, I was happy. And the only two things that don't make me happy about Andor is the show length and the time these episodes drop. That's the only two things that I can see that could be changed to make this pretty much almost perfect. But there is another thing, though. I will say that maybe instead of dropping just the one episode, it seems like these are 3-episode arcs that they're giving us. So I believe Susanna White was the director of this arc. She did a fantastic job. Maybe drop the 3 episodes all at once for that arc, for that particular arc, possibly. I know that's not great with shareholders and subscribers to Disney Plus, but for me, I mean, that makes the most sense artistically. Financially, no. Financially, that's a terrible idea. But I mean, can you imagine that, getting little bite-sized arcs every week? I mean, like an hour 50 worth of Star Wars, and it just continuous.
And yeah, you could tell from episode 4 that okay, this is the beginning of another arc. This is the beginning of another plot line of Andor. And so when episode 5 was going, I'm thinking we're not going to see the heist at all. But I was hoping that'd be really cool if we saw the heist. And then when episode 5 ended, I said, okay, it makes sense. The episode 6 now, yeah, you're right. They're going to go in threes, almost like the Star Wars trilogy. Like each is its own story. And so um yeah, I like how they're doing it, but I also agree with you that they should release them all at the same time because it's a beautiful like way they're doing it, which is they're really developing it, really showing these characters, really showing the world, really fleshing out everything that's happening, so that this episode 6, it's not just an action-packed heist. They've invested enough time to where the payoff is spectacular. Like it's so good. Like you, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time because what they brilliantly did was they showed us this is what it's going to look like, this is how we're going to do it, but they didn't really go into detail about how it was going to go. And so you kind of have a basic idea, but then as the heist is going, it's unfolding more and more and more, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is pretty crazy. And it was intense. I thought it was intense, and I'm going to say it now, the visual effects in this episode were beyond movie quality visual effects. I mean,
Mhm.
this completely, and I know Marvel's not setting a high standard, but this destroys any Marvel movie in the past like five years. I mean, this was even better than some of the Mandalorian stuff we've gotten. I mean, I don't know how they did it, but man, you could tell they really took their time with the visual effects for this episode because all those shots looked flawless to me. I mean, did you get that idea as well when you were watching it?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what we are kind of expecting for this series because we talked about it in so many podcasts ago that they were shooting on location and they were taking their time with it. This show took a long time to actually be finished and be ready for us. And you can really see it on the screen, on location. I think we were all big fans of the volume and stagecraft. And now
Yes.
I think we're kind of going back to I'd rather have you on location, shooting in physical environments, physical sets. They built a whole kind of city block for Andor um, on his home planet or his pseudo home planet.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, the writing, all the nuance, all the interweaving of people like scheming behind people's backs and the different backstories, and it's kind of like you wonder, okay, well, was that the truth? Was this the truth? I mean, was it kind of just kind of one of those things where one of the characters kind of figured out as the story went, they figured out maybe how to kind of win the game of the heist and kind of make it out on their own. Talking about skiing in particular.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
wasn't ready for that at all. That was that was a good twist because you think the show is over, and then you're like, what? And then what I liked about that was it made all the tension and all the unease of everybody make sense. That you can't we're all working as a team, but you can't really trust everybody. You can't really trust anybody. And I thought that was really crazy that the way the episode ended like that. I was like, wow, that was pretty brave of them to do. Um, and then again, just like with Rogue One, they're not afraid to kill people off. Like they're like, oh, it happens, and you got to keep going. And I thought that was actually pretty crazy that they did that in this episode. There's a few people who died that I was like, wow, okay, I guess we're just gonna keep going. And I thought that was really cool that they did that.
and the thing with the deaths, I think we all kind of expected at least someone to die.
Yeah.
Um, but like in Rogue One, pretty much almost everyone died except for, of course, Andor, who has to live. Um, and that female character's name. Do you remember what
Oh
her
yeah.
name was?
I forgot her name was too. Surprised we haven't
Yeah,
seen her. Like they just that plot line's over, it feels like.
yeah. So I mean, it was interesting the way that everyone kind of bit it. I know Gorn was shot, and it was a brief scene where he gets shot and he goes down, doesn't move anymore, and then the other Imperial also goes down pretty quickly. And I think the saddest death that we saw was probably Nemec. He
Yeah, that
was,
was
yeah, he was. You could say he was a linchpin of getting the rebellion going, getting the alliance to actually make its way through this heist, and it's such a ironic thing that the way he dies is he's crushed by all the Imperial credits. I mean, he's kind of fighting against the Empire, and that's what does him in. And
symbolism at its finest.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, that was the saddest point. And ironically, I'm pretty sure this was on purpose. When K2SO was getting shot by stormtroopers in Rogue One at the very end, his last word to Andor was climb,
That's
and
right.
Nemec's last word to Andor was climb as well. So there's
I just
some
got chills thinking
synchronicity
about that.
there.
That's right. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really sad when spoiler alert. I mean, like you said before, we already got spoiler alert. But yeah, when he gets crushed, I was like, holy crap, this is real. Like this isn't just a fun Star Wars story. Like they're really going all out to make it something new for Star Wars. And to see him there, and you're just hoping the doctor, like this doctor who I was like, okay, we got a 4-armed doctor who looks a little bit like a few people we know already.
Yeah.
That was really strange. Um, and then to see them cover him up, and you're just like, man, that's really. But then she's like, here, he wanted you to have his manifesto, and I was like, in that book is the rebellion, is the birth of the rebellion right there. Like
Yep.
this is gonna be, and the episode ended, and I'm in my head, I'm thinking I could watch another 4 hours of what's about to happen next. Like that's how I feel. Oh, looks like we're gonna have General Kenobi. Thanks for joining
Hello
us.
there. How's
How are
everybody
you?
doing tonight?
Good. How are you? We were just talking about episode 6, the Eye Andor. What are your
Ooh.
thoughts?
It's a gorgeous episode. Okay, let's just start off with that, right? Visually, chef's kiss. Okay, I enjoyed it a lot. Here's the only but on it.
Uh-oh.
I don't have a problem with the episode itself at all, but do you guys think that people are gonna be like, okay, this episode is enough of a payout for the last, let's say, 3 slower episodes, right? Do you think that ramp up was worth it, right, to get to that peak on episode 6? Or do you think most people are going to be like, you know what, I still needed a little bit more?
If people need more after that episode, I don't know what's going to make them happy. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
I mean, the way it looked, the way it all played out, the action sequences, intense moments.
Right?
I'm like, what more do you want from this? Like
Yeah.
I don't believe in the whole slow episode thing. I think they're really building up to these moments to make it worth it. And in my opinion, I think this payoff was pretty great.
Yeah, from what I've seen, at least online, that seems to be the majority of people, right? That they really enjoyed it, really like it. I don't know about you guys, but I keep seeing memes about, you know what, forget the Mandalorian, it's Andor #1 right now.
Yeah,
I don't know about that, right? That's a worthy discussion, possibly. But it was a great episode. It's, again, this is what they can do when they have more time, right? When they have, room to stretch their legs and actually
plan.
Exactly, that too. I was gonna say good writing on it. And man, those a little, like, in like prelude moments, right, where nothing seems to be going on, but you can feel the tension, right? Like you can tell that the characters are going through the stress and everybody's just sweating bullets. I enjoyed that a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Disney's playing a dangerous game almost, because they dropped the first 3 episodes, which was a complete arc.
Right.
And then the next week was one 30-minute episode, then another 30-minute episode, and then we got a 44-minute episode, which was awesome. It was edge of your seat excitement. Visuals were fantastic. Score was top notch. Maybe the best score so far that Nicholas Britell has given us. And I mean, it almost kind of reinvigorated me with this show just to see that, just to get that payoff. And I was telling James earlier that we were kind of promised the heist, and this whole episode was that heist.
Right.
And high stakes. You got to see stuff that we never seen before. We got to see TIE pilots enter TIE fighters.
Yes, finally.
Which
oh my
that
god,
was
like
gorgeous.
a visual
chef's kiss, man. That was
Exactly.
like,
it's a visual feast, man. Especially from me, I'm a TIE pilot in the 501st, and I was like,
Oh,
my
there you
God,
go.
This is
There
this
you
is
go.
what I'm
Perfect.
supposed to be doing.
You know, one thing I caught in this episode, and y'all probably caught it too, was even the blaster sounds were different than what we've
Yes, they
been
were.
hearing
I noticed
in
that.
Star Wars. And I was like, man, and the fact that they're stealing money, the fact that it's for the rebellion, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
This is stuff you would see in another show, but the fact that it's in Star Wars and it's being done well, it's not just being like, oh, it's Star Wars. Everyone's got to watch it. It doesn't have to be good. The fact that they're making it awesome makes it even more exciting for me, in my opinion. Like, this is making this show, and like you said, you know, like, maybe this is better than, we're only 6 episodes in, but maybe this is better than Mandalorian. I mean,
yeah, I mean the question is out there, right? And I gotta be honest with you, like I haven't heard that question in as many people with any other show. Okay, we all know the build up to Kenobi was huge, was intense, but once the show started, I didn't really see that kind of how can I say, continued like hype, right?
Yeah.
Like constantly, like every episode. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think it's a worthy debate. Maybe wait until we see the rest of the season. But so far, the writing, at least, like the character development, I think it's probably the best one we've seen on TV for Star Wars, for sure.
yeah. Well, what do you think, David? Are we better than Mandalorian, or is it too early to tell?
Man, it's apples and oranges, like we were kind of saying earlier. It's just one of those things that, I mean, The Mandalorian was the first ever Disney Plus TV show for Star Wars, the first ever Star Wars TV show. So that's always going to have a special spot, I think. But I mean, Andor is adult. It's for the fans that grew up being Star Wars fans,
Right?
And we're getting that grittiness. I mean, if you look at this episode, what we got in this episode, we got so many kind of adult things. We got the first cigarette smoking.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys noticed that. A guy was
I
smoking a
did.
cigarette.
Yeah, I was like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
And there was also another guy that urinated outside of
Yeah,
Dude,
that's
that
the first-
bunker.
yep.
That one I was like, wow, like really? That's where they were going with that?
And of course, we also earlier in the series we got the first actual like curse word in Star Wars too. That was like
Yeah.
earthly.
And the first, like booty call too. So
yeah,
there's
first-
there's
Yeah.
quite a bit going on. So
Yeah,
quite a bit of firsts.
there was a shot in that. I remember we talked about when she was putting on her pants, and I was like, whoa, okay,
Yeah.
all right, we're doing that here, And we also, I know it's weird, we got a heart attack. We never had that happen in Star Wars. Hostage situation, which
Hostage,
we kind of
yeah.
had, but it was really intense. We also got the other.
It was. Yeah.
Like, hold on.
There-
I gotta say this legacy.
Exactly.
It's like the first.
cool.
But yeah, we there was a lot of first, and like you said, David, it was kind of brave of them to do, which was to create a Star Wars for the fans that have been there since the
Yep.
beginning. Like
Right.
now we're adults. And then there's that whole controversy, like Star Wars, like George Lucas said, was for the kids, but now it's like it's for the adults. And I've heard a lot of criticism that Galaxy's Edge, the reason why it's popular, it is a very popular thing in Disneyland and Disney World, but the reason why it's not as popular is because the people who grew up with it, the people who have all the money, are like, well, I want to go see Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia. I don't want to see the new stuff, and that's why. And so Andor feels like it's for that generation, for the
Agreed.
generation of fans who were there at the beginning. And I know David was kind of there at the beginning. You got Return of the Jedi at a very young age. As for you and I, General Kenobi, I think we were already, it was all three of them were out by the time we watched
Oh yeah.
the original trilogy. So
Yeah, exactly.
so we're at that generation too, where we're like, oh, this is just a good continuation of it. Like I think it's really good. Somebody said here, a Legacy of the Nerd. 5 episodes in, I've only heard negative things, like it's barely a Star Wars show. But then he said, but I don't feel like it. They're roughing it in the woods right now, and that's where the story is right now. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say it. And I'm not going to say names, but a few people on our podcast also were kind of like, it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like Star Wars.
Right.
Like the slow episodes didn't feel like Star Wars.
Right. And the funny thing is, and I think I mentioned it last night on my show, that we like the community in general is describing it the same way, right? You know, you have sort of the slower pace. It doesn't feel like Star Wars, but some people say that's a positive. Some people go, that's a negative. So it's kind of curious that I think the show is coming across as it's sort of supposed to, right? It's just, again, of course, everybody's got their opinion, right? Some people want, over the top action, Mandalorian style again. And some people, maybe like us, are a little bit more with the intimate of, the intricate stories, right? Like with the dialogue, with the character development. My only gripe with the episode itself is that are we going full spoilers first of all? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Full spoilers.
My only gripe with the actual episode is that we kind of saw them not making it out, or not all of them. So that's not to say it wasn't done right. It's just I was kind of hoping that was not going to be the case, or at least not all of them, right? In terms of the grand majority of them dying. And the one that I kind of wanted to see more of was the lieutenant. Now, we don't know if he's dead for sure, right? But all I'll say is that he got down and he didn't move anymore. So,
right.
After getting shot. So I have to assume that he's not in it. If he's not dead, he's not probably going to be very
If it wasn't on camera, then, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't get a certain, certain that he is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? I mean, we saw him, a bolt head his way, and then he was on the ground, and then we didn't have any more close-ups for him. So that's about it, right? Nobody went in and checked his pulse and stuff. So I don't know. But yeah, that's, like I said, that's my only, not even complaint, just me nitpicking that I was sort of hoping for a little bit of a different outcome, I guess, in that sense. Now, Cassian shooting somebody, that I was very much, like I could have bet money that it was going to happen, but I honestly thought he was going to shoot the kid when he was, when he broke his spine or whatever happened to him, right? That left him,
Oh yeah.
Immobilized, and he says, hey, she wants to dump him, and she's like, hey, he's dying. I saw him look at him, go look back at the cockpit, and I was like, oh man, he's just gonna like walk in there, reach for his blaster, and be like, boom, debate over, right? Which he didn't, surprisingly, right? He's like, okay, how do we get him to the doctor? And then, sure enough, right? It's still kind of.
But it's great character development too. You know what I mean?
It
like,
is.
We know how future Cassian would have done that. Like
exactly.
Like later on, like we saw at the beginning of Rogue One, he didn't hesitate. He was like, all right, I gotta get out of here. You're not helping me. And he just shoots the guy.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, so
yeah, I thought that was really cool that they showed him and his humanity.
Right. And to your point, I think it was deliberate, right? Like, we've seen him, like you said, shed the baggage, right? Like, if you can't help me to physically get out of here, you're of no use to me, right? Which was exactly what was happening with the kid, and yet he chose not to, right? But like you said, this is the early stages still for him, so we know he's gonna get to that point. We've seen it, but it's not quite there yet.
I didn't think of that because that kid saved him. I mean,
yeah.
he saved Cassian's life when he was wrestling with the bigger guy on the floor. I mean, he looked at him like, man, I owe you one. And then when it came time to actually make that decision.
Yeah.
But I mean, with Cassian shooting Skeen, though, in the end, it feels like maybe even before that, it kind of infers that he wouldn't have shot Nimic, who broke his back. So I'm not quite sure. I guess we got to ask the question, kind of figure out when was the turning point. When did Andor become more the Andor from Rogue One, more so than what he was before? Because it seemed like he turned that corner with shooting Skeen and then giving the Kyber crystal back.
Yeah, I was surprised about that.
James and I were talking. What was the name of that character again? The blonde-haired woman.
Oh, I forgot.
The rebel, the
Yes,
leader, I guess.
at the very end.
Man, now I'm blanking out too.
Vel.
Bell.
Yeah, Vel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this was kind of the birth of the rebellion in a way,
Yep.
and then
Yeah,
he
this is gonna
has
fund a lot of the rebellion now. All the money they got.
Yeah. I mean, what did it say? 80 million, something like that.
Yep, 80 million credits.
They didn't even take all of it either. You know what
No,
I mean? Like
no,
when they were
couldn't.
loading it up, I was like, they're not gonna get it all. There's no
Yeah.
way they can load this whole thing up.
Yeah.
And
Which again, even that was a nice touch of how do you call it? Like realism, I guess, quote unquote, to the heist, right? It's like, hey, you know what? That's it. You gotta stop when you have to stop. If not, you're not gonna make it out with a single credit, right? You can't get over greedy. So I thought that was cool too. The plan going sideways, of course, it's we knew it was gonna happen, but I thought it was done again in a very believable way. You have this super tech, the super tech guy on communications that just happened to stumble onto their transmissions.
yeah, just press buttons. It's got to do the
exactly. Yeah, it's like
just keep pressing.
there's
Hey,
nothing else to do. But
I'm gonna step away really quickly, but y'all keep going. Y'all keep going.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring up the episode here, and
Cool.
we're going to go kind of every plot point here. So let me try and bring it up. Let me see.
So let me ask you this: do you watch it as soon as it drops, like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning?
Yeah, I was talking. Yeah, I was talking to James earlier about that. I always tell myself I'm going to go to bed, and I just can't. I just stay up.
There you go.
So
yeah, I've been watching it around maybe like 7 a.m. Just before work. Like
yeah, that's what I always try and plan. I set an alarm to wake me up about an hour before work,
right?
And I just end up staying up, and then I stay up another hour after that because I want to see everyone's reaction on Twitter and social media and see what people are talking about. Some people have like live YouTube channels going, and
yes, they do.
They break it down, and yeah, there were some interesting kind of fun facts too. So funny enough, this same past week, the title for the episode for Rings of Power was also The Eye.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that.
Yes, and the other thing too.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird coincidence. And also the other thing too was the fact that I talked about it earlier with James, that the last word that K2SO had to Cassian was climb, and that was Nemec's last word to Andor.
Right, I caught that. Yeah, I caught that too. And I'll be honest with you, even phonetically, it kind of sounded like a little hint, there. But yeah, I don't know.
So yeah, here he is talking with Nemec.
Yeah.
And they bring up a little bit of Force stuff here, kind of, with Faith.
Yep.
And a lot of people have comparisons to Mouse from, it's the same type of character from The Matrix.
Yep, I agree. I can see that. But this kid is freaking smart, though. I mean, he's very analytical, maybe over analytical, but yeah, he's pretty damn smart.
And this was an interesting thing right here. The natives. So the joke right now is that they cast Bryan Cranston.
Dude, yes, thank you. Okay, I wasn't the only one. Again, I was watching it, early in the morning, and I wasn't maybe 100% awake. But when that shot came in, I was like, "What?" I was like, "No way! Like, there's no way!" And so I kept going back, and I paused it, and I hesitated for like 2 seconds. I was like, "No, that's not it." I was like, "Okay." I was like, let's move on.
So yeah, I think they have a bit to play in the next few episodes here. What do you guys think about? So, of course, we've seen the trailers, we've seen the commercials. So there's a shot of Cinta on Aldhani with a Star Destroyer overhead.
Right.
So the Empire is going to be round up. They're going to head to Aldhani. What do you think is going to happen? Because they're going to have to retaliate. They're going to have to do something.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're going to do genocide on these natives. I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to try and punish them, even though they had nothing to do with this.
Right. I think at the very least, they're going to wipe out that that holy valley, right? They're probably gonna just glass the thing. You know, whatever artifacts, whatever ruins are there, they're gone at the very least, right? But like you said, I mean, 80 mil, that's that would piss some people off for sure. So I can see them going, you know, full on like Operation Cinder type of thing.
Yeah. And right here we see the scene from the trailer where Andor does the voiceover calling the Empire fat and satisfied.
Yeah.
And we see this guy and this guy drinking, and they allude to this guy's girth with his belt shrinking. So
yeah, exactly,
kind of
right.
funny.
Yeah, kind of subtle, but it's there. Maybe you've expanded.
Yeah, and it was kind of interesting that he became kind of like a major character for this episode, and to actually see his family there,
right?
with his
Yeah,
child.
Something we've never seen before in Star Wars.
No, but I've actually enjoyed that part also with the I guess the counterpart, or you know, the flip side of the same coin with Mon Mothma's family.
Yeah, and this reveal right here that one of the guys was a stormtrooper.
Yeah, and that Cinta's family was wiped out, right, by stormtroopers.
Yeah. Yeah, Vel is her name.
Yeah, Val.
And I think here is the scene.
Yeah, it's coming up right there.
Seed.
Yeah.
There you go.
And this kid was in House of the Dragon as well.
Was he?
Oh, really?
He played the suitor who ended up murdering that man. He was trying to wed Rhaenyra.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy.
There he is.
Dude, so I love the sort of like the iconography on that shot with the turret. It sort of reminded me, of the German pillboxes, you know, from like World War II, with all the gray, you know, the concrete, the obviously, you know, the gray uniform for the soldier, gray and black, and yeah, I don't know, like just the way that it's shown, it made me think of that like almost immediately.
I will say, doing fog, visual effects in the fog are just amazing. Like, they hide all the imperfections. I mean, look at that. You know
exactly.
For a fact, probably 20 feet in front of them is not there.
It's not. Yeah, exactly.
It probably looks almost like that, but then they digitally added in everything in the back.
Sure.
And it looks flawless. Looks like they actually built this wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if that big structure is there, then they added on stuff on top of it. I don't know.
I want to say I want to say the dam portion, like you said, like the floodgates are there, but that top right, I guess, little housing, I think that's not there. I saw a shot at one point before the show started.
And then they go all SEAL team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's that sacred structure.
Yep. So, like I said, at the very least, right, they're gonna blow that thing to smithereens for sure.
Yeah.
I love. He says a line right here. He says like he almost gives asks for code. He's like, "Do it, okay, soldier," and then he's we're good. Then he's like, "Okay," like that was his way of going. Like, are we
exactly?
Are
we doing this? Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool underwater sequence, and then the skin. It's so funny to see the Empire doing this because they're just trying. You know what I mean? Like it's so interesting that they're just like, that's their custom. We're just gonna let them.
Yeah, that guy grimaced.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how he gives the whole rundown of, you know what, we started out letting them do pretty much whatever they wanted, and slowly but surely we took away like pretty much everything, right?
Yep.
Until they're literally planning to take away the valley itself, which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, it does give you an insight, right? That, you know, the Empire, even though it's very powerful, it took a little bit to get there, right? Like they were not the all powerful Empire we get to know from one day to another, right? Like they still had to deal with regional conflicts, you know, governments, all of that stuff, right? Like they still have to sort of win them over.
We got a Mission Impossible shot right
Yeah,
there.
I thought that was cool. Him like completely changing the translation.
Yeah. May the eye find the good in all of us.
Yeah.
And then Bryan Cranston just looks at
Yeah,
him. Indeed.
that's
Right.
what
I want to look
yeah.
this guy's name. I'm gonna see what this
Yeah.
guy is because he looks just like Bryan Cranston. This is
Dude,
funny.
yes.
And then the mission just got more impossible.
Yep.
There it is. There's Tom Cruise. So,
Which I kind of did like how. Yeah.
What were we gonna? Sorry. What were we gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say I kind of did like how Vel was getting cold feet, right? Like at the
I thought that
at the
was
last
a nice
second.
little
At the worst
nuance
possible
there.
time.
At the worst possible time, exactly. Like when your leader should be, the coolest and should be like the most decisive. Like that's when she starts flaking out.
Burning of the pelts.
Eat my pelts.
So yeah, here they got
Yeah.
him.
We're good.
I think this is also the first time we ever see a gun pointed at a kid's head too in Star Wars.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
probably. We sort of saw a lightsaber pointed at one, but not a gun.
So the more I look at the dam in the background, I think the dam is real.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
gonna
so too.
say the dam is real, and they're able to utilize it and maybe add a few more things onto it.
Right.
But I think that's
So,
pretty cool.
am I the only one when they were going back and forth through this sequence and like the people, dancing down in the valley or down in the monument?
Yeah.
I had this thing when they were building up, the tension. I had this image of the people down in the valley, like the locals, the Aldani people, just like throwing up like their coats back, and they all had AKs and just started like blasting troopers because it just kept like building up and up and up, right? Like they showed how they don't like the Empire, right? I mean, they burned the pelt. And then as they were, dancing or whatever, I kept noticing that it was mostly young people. It was like a few elders, but it was mostly young men and women. So I was like, dude, like, are they gonna say, you know what, we had enough? Like, we have to do something and ruin everybody's plan. Like, little do they know they would put a kink on the actual rebellion.
Or they would have made it easier for them because then everyone would have been focused.
Exactly, would have been focused. Yeah, like every trooper would have had to gone out, right? But I don't know. I just kept waiting for that. Like when they kept getting into the frenzy of just before the eye happens, right? The shower happens, and I was like, dude, like if they do that, like, oh man, like that's awesome. They did it.
Yeah, and it would make sense story-wise because, I mean, that would give the rebels a little bit more extra support that they weren't going to expect. So I paused it right here because the device that Nimic is holding is actually a Polaroid camera.
Yes. Which is awesome.
So we got AK-47s and Polaroid cameras.
And Polaroids,
right
yeah.
behind you.
Just a few little things added to it to make it Star Wars.
Dude, like when she had the AK, right, and as she was about to let off the first shot, I was like, oh man, if she shoots like a bullet, instead of a laser bolt, like, come on. But luckily, it was a red laser bolt. Everything was fine.
Yeah.
But I half expected that, honestly.
So yeah, they get all the hostages
Yeah.
to do the heavy lifting. And yeah, this was a really tense scene. The eyes are about to go off. This guy's sweating it out.
Yeah. That sequence right there with the
I might have
pilots
to watch
coming in.
that. Dude, the way did you see him twisting the thing the way Darth Vader does? And
Yes, exactly. But just
look how light the lid looks.
Right?
Oh man.
Love it. I mean, we've seen it in video games and we've seen it in animated, right? But to see it live action, it's it's so nice.
All right, guys, I'm gonna have to bounce. Sorry about that, but keep going, and may the force be with you always.
All right, you
See
too,
you, James.
So yeah, Skeen is looking maybe going back and watching the episode, maybe all the looks that he's given, like he's trying to make it out of this alive, and he doesn't really care who.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that because before, sorry, I'm blanking out on the names, but before the former stormtrooper, he's gonna make the run to Vel, right? Vel is pinned down,
yeah,
and he tells Fennec like, "Cover me," right? I think right around there,
Right.
And he's like, I don't know if I want to stick my neck out.
Yeah.
Like
He
sort of
takes one shot and then he backs
yeah,
up.
and he's like, nope, never mind. Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Yeah. Man.
Terriman, there you go.
Terrible. Yeah.
Oh, I love that, man.
Yeah. I'll never get enough of watching and listening to TIE fighters.
Which is something that Rogue One did really well, by the way, when they come out of the Edu, you know, the hangar also.
Yeah,
and when
I
they
love the
come
EU
out,
sequence. Yeah.
yeah, the Edu sequence is gorgeous, by the way. Like in any Star Wars, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
But also when they come out on Scarif, you know, out of the shield gate like hangars, like when they just pour out like completely. I love that scene.
Yep. And there it is. Climb.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Look at the window. Climb. Move. Climb now. Did you give in? Heck here. I don't have the speed to make it. And now you.
Yeah. Yeah, but that sequence, man, that sequence is gorgeous.
Yeah. And of course the TIE fighters have no shield, so
Yeah, exactly. So even the lightest Grace would have done it, but
yeah. Then yeah, they make it out. And then their contingency was to go to this Dr.
Yeah.
Quadpaw.
Yeah.
That's his name.
That's funny. Makes sense though.
And you
That
figure when he
first-
said, I can't feel my legs, it's like, okay, well, I mean, that's not a big deal. I mean, you got Darth Maul with fake legs. And
Yeah, right.
so many other situations where characters don't really
I
need
mean,
their legs.
Fennec Shan had literally like a hole in her stomach, and some rando dude with, you know, 100-year-old parts in the desert managed to fix her. But
Yeah. Yeah, this back and forth sequence between Skeen and Andor was really good.
yeah, I like this a lot.
40 million credits is enough for me to forget about
you.
So right there, you know that, I mean,
Yeah.
he's going to kill anyone to get what he wants.
Oh, yeah.
So Cassian does the math and it's just like, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. He's like, yeah, as soon as I fly you out of here, I'm done.
Yeah. And then Walt is in.
Yep.
Tells
Which I think
Bell
it's kind of funny, right? How, well, not funny, but I guess it goes to show the character. He's offering to pay for the ship, right? First of all, he gives back the kyber crystal. Right? It's like, hey, this was just a deposit, right? Like, I don't no longer need it, and I'm only gonna take my cut.
Yeah, and then it gives credence to Andor's story that he was plotting to kill everyone and make out with the money. That Andor wasn't in it for the money. There's another good little story device there. And then, of course, the manifesto from
of course.
Nemik. And then another trailer shot where we see Dedra walking through. And, of course, we get the Senate.
Yeah, finally, right? Yeah. I love the way how he says, like, oh, bring up every retaliation plan, like, for the system or for the planets. I forget how he mentions it, but he's like, yeah, we're out for blood now.
Yeah. And you can see in the Senate chamber here that
exactly
most of these pods have no one.
Yeah.
And it leads back to episode 4, A New Hope, when Tarkin talks about the Senate being but dissolved.
Pretty much dissolved, yeah. So either because they're complicit or they've been forced out, right? I mean.
Yeah. The Senate really means nothing. And then this was an interesting spot right here too.
Yeah.
The language no one remembers.
How sad.
No, it's liberating. You decide what it says.
Luthen's antiquity shop, and then this guy brings up
big rebel attack last night.
The big rebel attack, and he's just like,
I'll have to look. Maybe we have something in the.
He's like, Andor worked.
Exactly.
My plan worked.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, Susanna
Yeah.
White, she did a fantastic job.
She did.
You really got to hand it to her.
yeah. I mean, this episode was awesome. Yeah, I mean that TIE fighter sequence is one for the books. Honestly, I loved it.
Yeah, I got a picture of Susanna White right here.
Oh, there you go.
She directed this arc, and yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah,
And I mean, people that are not accustomed to this type of storytelling, this type of show, I mean, yeah, it is a slow burn, but man, this payoff for this episode, the Eye, it's gonna be an episode that's long remembered and celebrated too. And written by Dan Gilroy, Tony Gilroy's brother.
totally good. Yeah,
Yeah. Based
Yeah,
on
man,
Star Wars by George Lucas. So yeah, fantastic edge of your seat episode.
yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that at least in terms of performance, like I think everybody's doing a really good job. Actor wise, like I haven't really felt like a weak link, has popped up, or I haven't really bumped into anybody. Is what I'm trying to say in that sense. And for sure, the story is great. The dialogues are awesome. The writing on it in general is just really good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think the next arc?
Like I was saying before, I think the natives are gonna really get either annihilated totally or see something really bad happen to them, because that Star Destroyer is showing up, and I think some heavy firepower is showing up, and it might end up like Cassian's home planet, where it's just no one.
Yeah.
Everyone that used to work there, all the adults,
exactly.
they're all going to be either enslaved or just straight up killed. So
yeah.
And it was funny because I had a lot of people asking me, was that the last show for this season? And I was like, nope, we're only halfway through.
We're only halfway. Yeah.
We got another 6 episodes to go, which is great. It's fun. It's exciting because
Yeah.
this week was the last week of She-Hulk and Rings of Power, but Star Wars continues.
Yeah, Rings of Power is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
The
I've
cool
been
thing about
enjoying it a lot.
Amazon is if you look at the time right now, it'll probably drop in about 2 hours.
There you go.
So if you like
I don't know
football,
what
you
I'm
can
doing.
watch Thursday Night Football. Then right afterwards, you can watch Rings of Power, which has
it's
been my
not a bad combo
routine.
right there.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Nice.
Same thing with Sunday night. Sunday Night Football, then
Then
House of the Dragon. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's been a crazy, few weeks for fandom, man. I mean, it's kind of crazy how everything converges, right? We had months where it was kind of bone dry, and then all of a sudden, you get everything.
Then we get hit with a bunch of stuff, man.
Yeah,
which is great. It is a little tiring, a little fatiguing, though.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Because
I
don't want to stay up, but I end up staying up for this stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've been doing the same. I started House of the Dragon late, and I think it was 3, maybe 4 episodes already out by the time I watched it. But I was like, I have to jump on this, otherwise, somebody's gonna end up spoiling it. I had already, seen a few things here and there, so I was like, you know what? What am I doing? Let's just do this. Let's just add it to the rotation.
Yeah, so I put the poll out on Twitter. You can find us at Stuff Pod. You can see there in my name. What show is better? Is it The Mandalorian or Andor?
Ooh, there you go. That's going to be interesting right there.
I want to hear what people have to say. I know, man, it's such a tough choice because, like I said, it's apples and oranges, really. I mean, The Mandalorian is, I think, it's more for the all ages section, where Andor, it's more adult oriented. But like James said, all of us have kind of grown up. Everyone that has the money grew up at this point in time with Star Wars, and I think all of us kind of wanted to see a more adult start. Now we get it. Unfortunately, the episodes are about 30 minutes long, which is kind of a shame. We got to wait every single week to get another 30-minute bite-sized chunk. But it feels like a long-form movie. It feels like they did shoot a really long movie, and they're just chopping it up. And they shot arcs for every 3 episodes.
somebody mentioned it last night on my stream, but I forget who it was, but they said this is gonna be an awesome rewatch, for like back to back all the episodes. And I was like, you know what, that's so true. Like this is gonna play really nice. Like you said, just a long movie. It's gonna look great, and what's sort of what's coming, but I think we're gonna get a better appreciation. Is what I'm trying to say. Once we are done with it, and you eventually go back and rewatch, maybe not the whole thing, but like arc by arc, I think they're gonna play out really good.
Yeah, I really wish we would have an after show a lot like we have with House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
I know when Rebels was debuting episodes on Disney XD, they would do Rebels Recon right afterwards.
Yes.
It's like, why don't they do that with Disney Plus? I mean, you can have a live show, have
I mean,
almost like Talking Dead for Walking Dead.
There you go. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I was thinking about.
You can have on the actors, the showrunner, and we can get a little bit more insight and kind of hang out and talk about it. Because I mean, 30 minutes, man, that's not a lot of time.
No, it's really not. Especially
and this
nowadays.
is really a movie, I mean, this is really something that's like actual cinema, it feels like, and it's worthy of having an after show.
Oh, absolutely, I agree. Do you remember back in Clone Wars? I want to say it was first season. Yeah, maybe first or second season.
Cartoon
They
Network.
used to, they used to have like a repeat of the show of the episode, but with like little inserts of information on screen.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what those were called, but so they would show
almost
the episode
like
again.
VH1 pop-up video kind of.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they had like little whatever, maybe not like super important stuff, but like I remember one when the clones were shooting their grapple guns right out of their main rifles, and the little pop-up said it's like, oh, the ropes are actually in liquid form until they're released into the air, then they solidify, and that's how they can shoot out like a huge ass or long ass wire right out of their rifles. And I was like, oh, I never knew that. Like I remember that sticking in my head, like, wow, that's pretty cool to know.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what they would call those, but anyway, so even something like that is what I'm trying to say. Just like bits of information on data that would just like enhance the show, right? So if they would drop the repeat episode with that kind of stuff 2-3 days later, at least that would hold you up a little bit more until the next one drops. But I think, I mean, they got. It's not like they're fighting for airspace time, right? So why not, like you said, why not have an after show, right, every week?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like they did. We've spoken about this on the podcast before, but it feels like they did kind of learn their lesson with dropping Kenobi and Miss Marvel simultaneously, kind of ate into Miss Marvel a little bit. And I never even watched most of it. I think I'm on the last episode, but yeah, they shifted She-Hulk to Thursdays, so you had Andor Wednesdays, She-Hulk Thursdays, and of course Rings of Power Fridays.
Yeah,
and then House of the Dragon. I mean, doing stuff like that, I mean, it's very, very commonsensical, I think. And of course, when they drop films, they let the industry know, hey, we have this date, so other studios don't release on the same. They at least give 2 weeks, And I thought it was smart of them to do that. Very smart of them, because you don't want to release too much all at once. And you want to have the water cooler talk, and you want to have the social media reaction.
Yes, and especially when, like, honestly, all of these shows are pretty expensive, right? Like, let's not forget, this is a business. So if you're spending so much money, right, to produce the one episode or the one show, you don't want to burn through everything, right? As fast as you can, or not anymore, at least. So like you said, stagger it, make it last, all through the week, so that people keep coming back to it. And it just makes sense. Now, I am happy that Andor is sort of outlasting, the major shows right now.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we're going into the holiday season, so the hype for it, I think, is going to be, pretty intense by the time we start getting the new action figures, and things like that for the holiday season.
Yeah, and it's essentially going to lead into Black Panther, because that last episode is the week of, I believe. Or actually, I think Black Panther releases on the 10th, and I think Andor, I think they moved it up.
Yeah,
because originally it was going to release like Thanksgiving, but Andor's going to have the spotlight, like you say, and Rings of Power is going to be done. She-Hulk is done. I don't know if there's any other big TV series that's going to drop.
Yeah, I was trying to think. We got Tales of the Jedi coming in 2 weeks, right? But
Yeah,
that's gonna be sort of a short run, right?
yeah, it's going to be 6 episodes all at
Yeah.
once.
Right. So, which don't get me wrong, I'm looking forward to that. Those stories I think are gonna be super fun. But yeah, I don't know that we got anything major for the rest of the year. I mean, yeah, besides Black Panther, of course. But I think coming into 2023, we're sort of that first half of the year, if I remember correctly, we're gonna be pretty heavy on Star Wars. No, we got Bad Batch, we got Mando,
Then Ahsoka
and then
Jedi Survivor.
Jedi Survivor, yeah.
And
so good things all
Skeleton
around.
Crew should be coming out.
Skeleton Crew, there you go. I knew I was forgetting one. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, I mean it's looking good, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, Star Wars Celebration is in London. Hopefully, we will be there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
so.
Bring me back some pallet toys.
You got to give me the credits.
There you go.
So yeah, General Kenobi, thank you for joining us once again. Tell the people where they can find you.
Sure thing. So, guys, if you enjoy Star Wars, which I have to believe you do, because who doesn't? We do a lot of toy hunting, a lot of toy reviews. We talk Star Wars at General Kenobi's Bunker on YouTube. That is the main channel. We also go live every Wednesday around 8 p.m. Central on the show called The High Ground, where I'm trying to have a lot more guests now. I've reached out to David. He said he was super happy to do it. I'm just kidding. I haven't asked him yet. So if you would like, a live show that's not as high quality as this one, join us on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central on The High Ground. Again, the YouTube channel is General Kenobi's Bunker. You can find me the same way on Instagram and at TikTok.
Awesome. And yeah, everyone that's watching, listening, you can always find the Star Wars Stuff podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, pretty much everywhere, every major podcasting app. If you go to Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars, write a review, tell your friends. And for General Kenobi, my name is David, and may the Force be with you.
We'll catch you on the next one.